I'm from the
Same place as trap music, this that first react music. They can't hold me back, I'm feeling good cause I'm black music. Can't nobody touch this, my flow I can't rush this. Put them on silence when I'm talking, you should hush bitch. I am from the heavy base, my bro called a heavy case. Got a couple
Good evening and welcome back to another episode of Cigar Sundays Live. Tonight, we will be smoking on the word crazy. Nah, y'all, we're going to be smoking on the word forgive. I'm just feeling crazy right now. I got crazy good energy going on. But we're going to be smoking on the word forgive tonight. Make sure to like and share the video. And subscribe to the channel, hit the notification bell so when we go live, you never miss an episode of Cigar Sundays Live. I am Chef Earl Pearl at DBCHEFTV, always with the God, Ali Dawu L at BK Soul Farm.
Hey.
And we are the Cigarden Panel. Peace, family.
Peace, God. What you dealing with?
Man. Just craziness. Feeling crazy good though. Like we was talking about talking about the ancestors offline, just feeling some of that crazy good energy. Grandma, shout out to my grandma. She just had a 93rd birthday. We just got off of
shout out. Happy birthday to you. Happy birthday to you. That's dope.
Happy birthday to you one more time.
Happy birthday to you.
Yes, indeed. And God's blessings. And also shoot to my brother-in-law too. You know what I'm saying? It's his born day too. So happy birthday to you, bro. And we also wish you guys continued blessings and everything else that come with that love. And man, so that's what we've been dealing with, God. That's what we was dealing with this weekend, getting a lot of things done. The weather's finally breaking. You know, I know you don't have the weather's finally breaking, but you know what I'm saying, up around these parts, you know, we got the weather finally breaking where, you know, we can get out there on days we feeling good and we can start, you know, trying to get back to the earth and see if we can get some fruits and vegetables and life out of the ground.
Hey, that's what's up. That's what's up.
You know, what you been dealing with though, family?
Same old, bro. Like, and it started to the weather starting to change down here a little bit. It seemed like a rainy season might be coming a little bit sooner, right? It probably ain't, but you know that like everything is acting weird. So we starting to get more water, which is great for me. The crops need everything they can possibly get. And the more rain, you can just dump more soil on the hill up because I got a lot of root vegetables. You know what I'm saying? So like they need to eat. I got a lot of watermelon and cucumbers and squash and stuff like that needs a lot of water anyway. So like this is my thing, man. Take advantage of what is. Like what you want is cool, but what is reality, right? Like that's what you can hold on to and grab onto and actually eat, right, and shit out. So that's what we going. So it's just, you know, same old, bro. I'm just on a farm, just playing in the dirt.
Just playing in the dirt. Ain't nothing wrong with it.
Hell yeah.
That's where life begins. Yes, indeed. So tonight, y'all, we are smoking on the word forgive. And if you're new to the channel, you know, what we do is we define, examine, and analyze words, phrases, and sayings used in American culture. And we say we smoking on words with two big nerds, myself, DBCHEFTV, and the guy Ali Dawu L at BK Soul Farm.
Word.
And we have 3 questions that we try to shape around our question. I mean, our word that we smoking on. And we go through them and we answer them throughout the night. We encourage you all to comment in the chat, answer the questions, You know, you can leave a comment, or you can comment along while we exchange insights, and we'll respond to it. So we're gonna go ahead and get into tonight's questions for forgive. Our first question this evening will be, what do you think of when you hear the word forgive? What do you think of when you hear the word forgive? And like we said, anybody out there watching, to all the viewers, tell us what you think of when you hear the word forgive. Our second question will be, is it possible to forgive and forget? If you say yes or no, explain why. Explain why. Is it possible to forgive and forget? If you say yes or no, explain why. And our third and final question will be of the evening, is to forgive a weakness or strength?
God damn, bro.
Is to forgive a weakness or strength? That will be our third question this evening. We're trying to keep it up there on the screen. I don't know what's going on. It's a little, it keeps flashing on and flashing off. But
oh, that's what you was talking about?
Yeah. Because it's supposed to be on loop, but the loop isn't working. So I don't understand why the loop isn't working.
Just chalking up the technical difficulties, and DJ keep the party going.
And that's what we're going. You know.
My name is Ali, and I'm here to say.
It's Cigar Sundays with DBCHEFTV. Hey.
So firstly, a great word is always dope questions. And right off the back, like, you heard a noise just now? Or is that me just hearing that?
It sounded like something say, ew.
Yeah. Now, as long as you hear it too, that's cool.
I heard like the end of it. I don't think I heard the beginning of it. I heard like the end of it.
That's cool. Right now, what I was saying was, like, for me, when I think about forgiveness, the first thing I really think about, in all honesty, is it really possible? Right, that's the first thing I think about, is the question of, is it really possible? And I ask that question because people hold grudges. I'm a grudge holder. Right, like once I cut you off, like, you are cut off. Right, I don't necessarily consider that a grudge holder. I consider that as an acceptance of reality, and you've consistently presented yourself as somebody that is negative around me. So, I remove myself. But others might call that holding a grudge, whatever. And I say that because I hold grudges, right? Even with the word grudge itself, like I hold them. Like if you did me dirty, I'm gonna remember. You know what I'm saying? Because I want to be safe in the future, and I don't want you to be able to hurt me again. So I'm gonna stay clear. So that's what I think about when I think about forgiveness, right? Or to forgive. I was always taught that when you forgive, you're freeing yourself from the burden of that anger or that trauma or something like that, right? And I do think it's true, right? Because I do have moments of forgiveness where I can breathe easy, and I, not so much where I don't give a fuck, but where I'm just so happy where it don't matter either way, right? Like, and I have a lot of those moments. So in those moments, I guess I have forgiven that person or forgiven that situation because I'm not thinking about it no more, right? I'm not letting it hold me down and prevent my happiness. I don't know, God. Like when I think about forgiveness, the first thing I think about is it possible?
Is it possible?
Right? Like I don't know what the word mean for real. Every time somebody try to tell it to me, it sound like something only the victim got to do, right? And if the victim don't do it and take another lash, then they didn't do it right? And if they get mad or feel hurt or have any emotion to being victimized, they're not practicing good forgiveness or something like that. I ain't never I ain't
That's
never like
yeah, that's a way to look at it. That is
you know what I'm saying? Like, but I'm from Brooklyn, right? So maybe my perspective is mixed up, right? Because in the cities, you know, we are taught incorrectly to mismanage our feelings, right? And our emotions. We're not taught how to express ourselves properly and to communicate effectively, right? We're taught to bottle everything up, to cry in private, actually to not cry at all, right? Except at a funeral. That's the only time you're allowed to cry, and even then, got like a time limit, right?
no
Um,
doubt, no doubt.
so I don't know, God. Like, what you think about that? What you got?
Well, I definitely agree with some of the things you were saying as far as forgiveness being the last part of what you were saying, that forgiveness being something that is like, can it happen? Like, is it imaginable? That was the first part you were saying. The last part was victim. I don't necessarily correlate freedom with the victim behavior because I look at it like most people who looking for forgiveness did something. So like in order to be in a position to be asking for forgiveness, you got to feel like you did something. So you wouldn't necessarily, so you know, that wouldn't be you might have done something to a victim, and now a victim may be in a position where they have to forgive you. Yes, I get part what you're saying, but I'm like, most of the time when if I'm in a position where I'm asking for forgiveness, you know, then I had to have done something to allow myself to be in that position. If I'm in a space where I think somebody, you know, should be asking me for forgiveness, then we have to examine why I would think what they did that will warrant me to say that, you know, they should be asking me for forgiveness, you know, or asking me to forgive them. So like when I think of the word though, like what does it, you know, what do I think of when I hear them? It just it ring off church, like right off instance, like
Yeah, I
it
ain't want
just
to say
yeah,
it.
it's okay. I got this. I got us. You know what I'm saying? So like it just give off church right off the break, you know. And and then you know, and then you have to figure out, okay, am I defying the rules if I say, okay, well, I'm not going to exercise forgiveness the way I would ask God to forgive me, you know?
Mm.
And you know, if that's my religious practice, right? Where my religious practice is that I do things earthly that I know is fucked up, but I ask God to forgive me for it. You know what I'm saying? So like, if that was my earthly practice, right? So
You had a cheat code.
yeah, I'm just saying, like some people don't realize, like you can try not to put yourself in that situation. You know,
In the first place.
in the first place, you could try not to put yourself in a position where you need forgiveness. You know, like
Try not to.
try
Not
not to. Try
not
not to.
not don't put yourself in that position because who can control everything at all times, right?
Yeah, like, and ain't nobody, but that's where the ain't nobody perfect at. But the ain't nobody perfect piece that people be taking was just like, oh, I could just go be a heathen, a whore, a motherfucker, piece of shit, bullshit, human scum, motherfucker, and I ain't got to worry about nobody. As long as God forgive me, I don't care about the rest of y'all. But then
Wrong.
but then if you reciprocate that energy, now you fucked up. You know what I'm saying? Like,
which is why it's wrong because if somebody do the exact same thing to you or something very very similar and you feel a way about it, then what you did wasn't right.
you know what I'm saying? Like all that bullshit, you know what I'm saying? It is, you know, back in the day, one of the things that used to be something is like who threw the first punch,
Mm-hmm.
you know? So it's like, you know, like you're not gonna punish the person for fighting back, are you? You know? So why this but it isn't taught that way. So people can't interpret.
Correct.
They have no concept of it except for what we just said, the correlated.
Because of the person that's defending themselves, right? Because let's not say fight back. Let's say defending themselves, right?
Yeah,
Gets
sure.
in trouble for defending themselves. That means that you basically society is basically saying you only get to be a victim.
You only get to be a victim, right? In order to forgive. In order to be in a situation of where you have to need something to forgive, you know, or something to forgive you, then you have to be a victim. It seems like that. And that's what I'm saying. Like, then what people need to do is like what they say, what you need to do is, right? So like I be having fun with this shit. You know what I'm saying? So like what people need to do is, right, is be mindful of what a person could do. What you could do is be mindful of those things, think it through before you make the decision, before you make the choice to do it. Put some thought into it, have some consideration,
That's it. That's really it.
you know, consider the other person before you do it. You know, I can't do some foul shit and then be mad if you do some foul shit back to me.
Not in real reality.
Like I don't even care how it presents itself. If you was in the wrong and you was doing some fucked up shit, and I said, "Can you please stop doing this fucked up shit?" Right? And then I did some shit to fix it myself. But then instead of you stopping, you act like you want to go to war. You know what I'm saying? And you do some foul shit back. But I catch it. I catch you doing it. I don't get the damage. Like your strike don't be as hard as my strike. And I just say, all right, fuck it then. It's fair. What's fair is fair.
What's
But
fair?
what's fair is fair, right? But nothing got resolved. And if it was a relationship, it got severed. Now, what we have to ask is instead of going tit for tat, who threw the first punch?
Why you throw that punch?
And why you throw that punch? Why you couldn't just have a conversation and discuss what was going on so you could have resolve?
Why you throw that punch? Yeah.
You see? So, I mean, if you don't want to get stolen on, then don't swing. You know what I'm saying? If you don't want to get hit back, then don't punch. Ain't that the way we was taught? And don't put your hands on nobody if you don't want nobody to put their hands on you, right?
Yeah. Yeah. And
Now,
the rule of
now,
thumb is you can just walk around and not expect to get hit because you ain't hitting nobody. Right? That was the rule of thumb. But you go around bullying people, somebody might defend themselves.
okay, that's cool. That was then. But
Yeah.
now, you know what I'm saying? But now, parents don't even spank their ass, spank kids' ass. Like we have a generation of children that never had
Yeah.
physical altercation. You know what I'm saying? Like it's motherfuckers talking about they whoop somebody's ass, ain't never been in a fight in their life. Like how you know? How you know? How you know? Like I get self-confidence, but how do you know? How do you know the initial reaction response of it won't shock you so bad that it frees you? How you know that? You don't fucking know that. You know what I'm saying? Unless you've been through the shit before and you did it, you know, and you just hope that you're ready. Because even if you did the first time, you might have got lucky. Second time, you might not be as lucky. Third time, hopefully you don't have no more times after the first time. But that ain't reality. So to put yourself in a situation on purpose, it seems like that's the reason why forgiving, you know, when you say I don't even think it's possible, it's like everybody keep putting themselves in position. The only way that we could stop having forgive like be a thing is people start being considerate and think about the things they do before they put themselves in it. That's the only way it's gonna happen. It's not gonna happen no other way. But that's what when I hear the word forgive, that's what it means to me. Like it's churchy. It just seemed like, you know, people gonna put themselves in compromising situations where they're gonna be asking for forgiveness, asking for somebody to do something because they not paying attention to them throwing the first punch, you know, or they don't think that they could throw punches and somebody else not supposed to punch back. So, and now it's changed where it's verbal, where it's just like, or people just do certain shit, you know, like aggravating shit, like, oh, I'm gonna move this over here, or I'm gonna do this like this, or I'm gonna go to work every day, and the chick I don't like, I'm gonna throw away her lunch or some shit. You know what I'm saying? Like I'm gonna clean out, like just little, like that's still a punch.
Yeah. Yeah. It's interesting because you say churchy, right? And then you say who threw the first punch. And those two things go hand in hand, right? Because there's a religion where you can absolutely throw the first punch and then ask for forgiveness and it all goes away. Right? Like there's no hard consequences in real life on this side of life.
No.
Right? You got to wait to the afterlife to catch those consequences.
You hope.
But actually you hope that you got forgiven because you asked for forgiveness for it, right? Because that's all you got to do. And that's interesting. That's what I'm saying. Like I don't know if it's possible. Like because if somebody walk up to you and stole all and hit you, right? And you're like, oh, I'm so sorry. I just had like I got Tourette's or something like that. Let's say they got like a real thing, right? You forgive them, but you still gonna be on guard around that.
Nah, fuck no, you're not. I don't know when you're gonna forgive them. You might forgive them after you put the pause on their ass later. But if they got that, then you ain't the first person. Somebody need to be responsible for them.
Somebody need to be responsible for them.
So they in danger. That's the day of the safety too. If somebody who's responsible for that person with a mental disability that goes around assaulting people, all right, because that's the charge. That's what it's going to be. Because if they hit the wrong person and they couldn't defend themselves, if they hit the wrong person and they hit somebody that the person didn't feel like that they could whoop their ass, you know what I'm saying? And they say, you know what? Or they just not a fighter. They just somebody who just they get hit and they just like, you know what? I ain't even with no physical type of anything.
You just
All right.
solve this one time.
Like, yeah, the police get called and now you go to jail. Deal with that. You see what I'm saying? So like, you know, it's me, I'm a fighter, but I'd rather let the police take your ass to jail. You know what I'm saying? Because if you still got money to keep going to jail and all that, you know what I'm saying? And then when you talk about civil suits and all that other shit, like, man, don't give me no motherfucking ideas. You know, and I'm talking about what you said, a random punch. You
Yeah.
know,
So now, because and I said random, because I was thinking to the like,
random.
so who would, in what circumstances would actually deserve forgiveness?
I don't think any of those circumstances would deserve what the idea of what I think forgiveness is now, meaning, you know, coming from the church sense, the biblical
Yeah.
sense, and you know, which is my current meaning. I did
Yeah.
the way I identify with the word forgive, you
I'm
know.
rocking with you. Yeah.
So like currently in my own form of judgment, yeah, I would be like, but would that still be against if I was trying to use some type of religious principle, like a Christian type of principle? Hell yeah, because you're supposed to forgive. You know what I'm saying? You're supposed to forgive it all the way. Like
I
I'm
want
just
my lick back though. I do.
yeah. Who don't want they look back?
All right.
That's what I'm
Yeah.
saying. But
Yeah.
but
And I
but at
don't
a
want to go
certain
to hell
time,
for wanting my lick back.
though, right? It'll become, yeah, I want my lick back. But is it wise for me to do that? Because am I ready for the consequence of it? The negative consequence of it? Because it's not going to be no positive consequence of it. Because if you in a fight, don't think you just about to whoop somebody's ass. Like, you know what I'm saying? Like, you're going to be in a fight, especially if they trying to fight you. Okay. If they ain't no chump. So you got to exhaust that energy in that. And
So do you
then,
think? Listen, I'm listening to you, and you got me thinking: is forgiveness a action or just words?
I don't
Because
know.
because I'm listening to you, and if you don't fight, do you forgive? Is Are you forgiving that situation? Are you forgiving, and you just trying to walk away? Like,
And that's a good question, God, because is the act of walking away forgiveness, or is it coward? Is it cowardly, or is it forgiveness? You know, and or some people will say, or is it just that isn't that person's character to fight? They just not a fighter. You
hmm,
know, they don't like to get in physical. They not a physical altercation type of person. You know, so I would say one, you can grow to be that. Like I have grown to be that. You know, like I don't got shit else to prove. You know what I'm saying? Like I know I could fight. I done grew up fighting all the fucking time. Neighbors, friends, everybody, family. You know what I'm saying? Still all love. Like that we grew up fighting. So like I don't need and I never had a desire to be a professional boxer. So at this age, we look at what is it that we have such a disagreement over that requires where we can no longer talk
in the first
about
place.
it to resolve it. You know what I'm saying? If we talk about it and then we get to not talking to each other, cool. All right. Not for people I love, you know what I'm saying, and people I care about, but for any other random motherfucker, yeah, cool, whatever. Like you ain't gotta say shit to me, I ain't gotta say shit to you. Fine, we go on about our fucking life, no problem. But even for a situation like that to result to something physical that is beneath me, it's not worth my time because if that don't resolve the issue, then what the fuck did I do? What the fuck did I get sweaty for? Why did
Facts.
I get sweaty and I ain't make no money?
Facts. That's what I'm at with. Like,
You know, why did I get stressed out and I ain't make no money? I wasn't focused on, you know, just because your stupid ass wants some fucking attention. You know what I'm saying? Because you bored. Like, nah, family. Like, we don't do that. Like grown-ups don't do that. People who actually have shit to do, who actually have a bit a purpose, an agenda, you know, like they don't have time for that. So you know, in those situations, it's just like I don't even know if that's forgiving. Like you could say it's forgiving, you could say it's coward, you could say they don't care about it. But
yeah.
you know, but yeah, y'all, we've been answering our first question. What do you think of when you hear the word forgive? You know, and so far we think of a lot of different things. It's
Because
quite
then I just started thinking about like, all right, so what happens when somebody steal church money or steal family money or steal from? What happens when a family member steal from you, right? Um, they gonna always be your family. You you don't kill them, right? Because you love them ultimately.
right.
Um, by them not dying, is that forgiving them, or you just letting that go? Like at what point? That's what I'm saying, right? Like, I don't know, man. I don't know if
I'm
it's
gonna I'm gonna say for me, at some point you have to let it go. You know.
all the way just say, like forget about whatever it was that was taken.
Yeah, absolutely. Because I mean, and then another thing is like you have to be realistic with yourself. Is you know, um, so that's a real good question. So like, let's say if I'm doing something that I know I ain't got no business doing, all right, then I'm already in the wrong at what I'm doing already.
Correct.
So like you said, so like your example was like a family member stole from you. So long, long, long time ago in my youth, you know what I'm saying? I was doing some stuff I probably ain't had no business doing, you know, and I had a family member steal from me. So I had to look at it like, like we both out here in the street, and being in the street, like it come with that. So that was a very hard lesson that my family would steal from me before one of my friends, one of my homeboys. So, so that taught me something right there. Getting that lesson right there was like, damn, it did, but it didn't make me look at my homeboys, and it made me look at my family, for just understanding now what maybe everybody else had understood, but I just got introduced to it. I didn't know. So and let me not say that I didn't know. I didn't know that they would do it to me. Okay. So
That's real.
so I forgave that shit because we both was wrong. Like we both was in spaces that we was doing shit that wasn't good for either one of us, our futures or our family or anybody else that loved us. Anybody else that said they gave a fuck about seeing us being better versions of ourselves. We was not facilitating their desire. You know what I'm saying? Because we wasn't even doing it for ourselves. So I understand that shit. Because I had to change my that's why my story will be different had I not changed. Getting to this point, if I even would have made it to this point. So, I think that particular scenario, I think is just, you have to forgive. Like you have to do what we think the thing is that would be like based on.
And that's just letting it go, forgetting about that thing. Like you have to make that thing be value zero, so
Yeah,
so that it don't have no impact on your emotions at all.
I think so. You know what I'm saying? I would think that would help because if you hold the grudge on it, then how long you gonna carry that shit? Like, like how long you gonna want to get your lick back? And then what if you think you're gonna get your lick back, but then you get mopped up thinking you're gonna get your lick back? And then what happened? Do that just make you more angry? Do that draw you now to want to kill your family? Like, and then that's where that person is not realizing who threw the fucking first punch, man.
Mm.
You stole from that person first.
Yeah.
You stole from that person twice before they even addressed it.
Yeah.
Real life. You know what I'm saying? Before they even called you out on the first one. Remember that whole man, I was having a conversation with my wife and we was talking about this a little bit. And she gave me a scenario where she was talking about like how forgiveness can be perceived as a weakness. So that was clearly an example right there with me and my family member where they stole from me one time. I act like it was cool. I didn't do shit. So the consequence was he ain't gonna do shit if I steal from him. Then I got stole from again. You know what I'm saying? And then I'm like, bro, you can't be stealing from me. You know, like I love you for real and I give you stuff. You know what I'm saying? I fuck with you, man. You know, so I fuck with you, fam. So it's like,
how you value zero.
Yeah, like how you gonna steal? How you gonna steal from me? Like, like if ain't nobody else gonna fuck with you, I'm gonna fuck with
you. Yeah, now you trying real hard to make me not.
You know, but you like, nah, they really want to son you. That's what happens. Little nigga, if it wasn't boop boop bop bop bop. Nah, we ain't doing all that, man. Nah, we ain't doing that, man. We ain't doing all that little nigga, this blah blah blah. Nah, man, we ain't doing that. You know what I'm saying? Because we not stealing.
Facts.
You know, and we both in the wrong. So like if we both in the wrong, you know. So that's why I say, like, yeah, you have to forgive, but a person will hold on to that shit. A person will hold on to it, but the problem is have they acknowledged that they threw the first punch? And see, that's where self-reflection comes in, because I'm like, you can't even really forgive based on what I'm talking about forgiving if you ain't self-reflect, if you ain't look at the shit you did.
Especially if they defending why they threw the first punch instead of just acknowledging that they did.
That's it.
But I threw it because you did this, because you said that. If you ain't do this, then I wouldn't did that. So ultimately, they saying that it's really you that made them throw the first punch. So the question of who threw the first punch never really get answered in reality, because everybody's avoiding responsibility and accountability, right? And we just need to grow up.
Just need to fucking grow up. That's really it. And them two things you said, accountability and responsibility. You know, like that's really what it be. Because if I say, damn, did I throw the first punch? Did I cause this shit? If I stop and I could say, did I cause it? Then what I'm doing is I'm really looking at myself and looking at my actions. And now I'm taking accountability for what I did. And if I caused it, then I now have a choice where I can go and confront it and own up to it and correct it.
I think that might be the real forgiveness. I think that's what they mean by forgiving yourself first, right? And you have to take accountability for your role in a situation, right? And be honest.
And be honest, right? Did I throw the first punch?
Right, because that way, if you're not, otherwise, I say if you're not, when you do or if you apologize, it won't sound sincere. It sound like a whatever, an apology. Like, yeah, I'm sorry, whatever. You know, yeah, I hurt your little feelings.
Yeah,
I hurt
yeah,
your little
it's
feelings.
fake. Yeah, it's fake. You know what I'm saying? Like, and come on, and like, and when you a sincere person, you could tell a fake apology.
Yeah, like you might as well not say that to me at all.
Yeah, you might as well just keep it quiet. Don't say shit else to me. You know what I'm saying? Because don't think you're gonna be able to though talk to me all raggedy as shit. And then now I owe you some form of cordialness. You broke the cordialness when, you know what I'm saying? When you threw the first punch for real.
And now
like,
you get what you get.
Yeah, and now you get what you get. Because I'm like, God, you could actually confront somebody and say, hey, was that a punch you threw? You know what I'm saying? Are you punching? Because I'm trying to hug. I ain't trying to punch. I'm trying to, we don't even have to hug. We can shake on shit. You know what I'm saying? Like, and that'll be cool. We can pound it, whatever the fuck you want to do. We don't have, but are you throwing punches? You know? So I can know to protect myself or how I need to move, how I need to defend myself. But then you take the time, go ahead and take the time to throw another punch. instead of saying, no, that's not. But what happens is people will throw the punch because they won't do what you said. They won't reflect and take accountability for their punch that they threw. You know,
so they'll double down and throw another one because they got to defend themselves. They got to defend their punch, right? And all
you countered.
And all you asked was, did you throw a punch?
All I asked was that a punch?
Was that a punch? Was that a punch? Was that
That's
a punch?
it.
Like, was that a punch? And you like,
Right.
ha, yeah, it was a punch.
No, I ain't even. No, you don't even throw no punch. You don't even throw no punch back. You just bob the shit. That's it.
Asking the question.
You just weave the shit and ask the question, because you like, you know, I may not want to punch. I may want to, you know what I'm saying? I may not want to punch. I may want to call the police. You know what I'm saying? For real. Like, I may not want to punch. For real. So you can't think everybody gonna want to fight you neither. Everybody don't want to fight you. Somebody might want to shoot your ass. They ain't with the fighting. You know, a person that'll shoot you real quick especially if they don't possess the ability to communicate, because you making sense and they stuck in fool's logic.
I like how you said you brought up calling the police a few times before you got to end somebody's life.
Of course, family.
Right, like because that's the reality, because people live in fantasy land, and because we haven't been taught how to navigate our emotions and how to resolve conflict properly. When you step on my shoe, I gotta kill you. Instead of saying, hey, my man, you just stepped on my shoe, or just wiping my shoe off and just keep moving on with the rest of my damn day.
realize you in a crowded ass spot.
You know what I'm
saying? and hoping your motherfucking kicks was gonna be as fly as they was gonna be when you walked out of there. It ain't reality, fam.
It ain't reality.
Unless you VIP, be in a space where you can stand and you got 3-4 feet around you the whole time. Can you pay for that?
Otherwise, your shoes might get stepped on.
Come on,
and nobody is really going out of their way talking, let me go step on somebody. I mean, unless they are, but I can't imagine people going out of their way to purposely step on people's shoes just to step on people's shoes. Like that's silly.
Man, that's
juvenile. That's super juvenile.
Corny, juvenile, hating ass shit. And I'm gonna go step on his shoe because he fresher than you. That's what that is.
That's what I'm saying, right? Like I can't think of like why would somebody do that?
Yeah,
like,
and it's borderline gay, because like why you checking that man out so much that his clothes that he has on, you want to go ruin them. You want to go ruin his clothing that he has on. He's dressed himself. Like, come on, family.
Yeah.
You know what I'm saying? And I probably, I may not, let me not say it's gay, because it might be some gay people that be like, you know what, man, that's fucked up, because all gay people don't look at people and on their trip. You know what? So that's fair. That's some girl shit. All right.
Yeah.
Because girls do that.
Yeah.
You know, I'm just saying it's feminine.
Yeah.
You know, so
I agree.
You know, but shout out to my LGBTQ family members. You know what I'm saying? So, because we want to let everybody know, like, if you doing something wrong, then you doing something wrong. And it don't matter who you loving on, or what your love look like. Everybody still gotta forgive. So, or you don't gotta forgive. You can hold grudges. Fuck it. You know, it's your world. Do it. Live it how you want to live it.
Word.
But definitely we're gonna go ahead and get into these definition of the word forgive tonight.
Super curious. How close were we?
All right, here we go, y'all. So tonight we are smoking on the word forgive. If you just joining us, y'all, Make sure to like and share the video. Also, subscribe to the channel, hit the notification bell so when we go live, you never miss an episode of Cigar Sundays Live. Tonight, we are smoking on the word forgive, and we are going to go into the definition. Forgive is a verb. We have one, to cease to feel resentment against. Here is an offender, and then it says pardon. To cease to feel resentment against. To give up resentment of or claim to requital for. Okay, I see the for over here. To give up resentment of or claim to requital for. All right. To grant relief from payment of. And then we have as an intransitive verb, to grant forgiveness, to grant, or to grant. Then we go over here to the thesaurus and check out what they got. So they give us forgive, still as a verb, as in to pardon, and also as in to ignore. As in to pardon and as in to ignore. We're going to get into as in to pardon. So we have forgive as in to pardon, to cease to have feelings of anger or bitterness toward. Pardon, ignore, redeem, acquit, excuse, release, absolve, exonerate, vindicate, liberate, disregard, exculpate, remit, condone, discharge, pass over, shrive, clear, unburden, shrug it off. And see, to ignore right here, see, I like that, to ignore. That's usually how I forgive. I forgive you by just ignoring the shit out you. You know what I'm saying? Like, you know, people be trying to bite my style and shit, but I started that shit, dog. I'm the one who invented that, you know. So we have as to ignore, to dismiss as of little importance, to ignore, overlook, pardon, explain, excuse, justify, disregard, forgive and forget, condone, pass over, discount, remit, brush aside or brush off, brush that dirt off your shoulder, blink, to blink at, to gloss over, to paper over, to whitewash, shrug off, wink at, rationalize, overpass, absolve, gloze over, exonerate, acquit, vindicate, exculpate, close one eyes to, wave aside or off, and clear.
I like rationalizing that.
It made me feel good about my ignoring, about my dismissing as of little importance.
Yeah, right. Because you take into consideration your part to play, and if you were not a bad guy in it, you just remove yourself and like, all right, I can do that safely, and I ain't got to worry about patching that up over there because that has been tried and is failed, and they want to be what they want to be, and I don't want to be around that. So that's a rational thought. That's a whole entire thought for why you are just going to ignore that situation, and it's cool and it's easier for everybody.
It is,
except for them, because they want you there so that they can be mad, so that they can have something to talk about.
because misery loves company.
Yeah.
Yeah, they can keep that. So so forgive, to cease to feel resentment against. Pardon. And I saw what you were talking about earlier, that where it was like the victim thing as an offender. This is where I was talking about here, like you have to do something, right?
So this is an interesting one for me because it brings up questions with the word pardon and with people that have committed crimes and have done their times. They got felonies and they finish their time, or they come out. Yeah, they finish their time. Do they still got to mark F on reports if they don't owe any more time? Like say
I don't. Let me say this.
Before you answer that question, let me tell you the other part, because I'm basically trying to figure out, is that the same as a pardon? If a president pardons you, in my mind, that person does not have to put F on a job application.
Okay, so I don't know if when a person gets a presidential pardon, they no longer have to put
Or
that they
governor
are.
pardon, something like
Yeah, whenever a person gets a pardon from a felony case, when they go get a job, do they have to indicate that they have a felony case, that they are a convicted felon? I don't know. I do know the part that I was going to say earlier is that, which may be the obvious, is that whenever they do receive the pardon, the government or the state ceases to feel resentment against that crime that they committed.
100%.
For their sentence. So that part to me, I don't know. Like, I don't know nobody who got pardoned to
At
ask.
all.
And I've never Googled it. So,
Yeah.
I'm sure it's only a Google question away. Google got an answer for it. But
because to your last statement about, because they received, the government ceased to hold resentment against them, is that the same for people that just finished their time? Does the government cease to hold resentment for them as well?
But that's not a pardon, though. That's just you finished your sentence.
Damn. Yeah.
Yeah, that's you did your time. You paid your debt.
Not necessarily forgiven.
No, not if you come out and you have restitution. If you come out of prison and you have jail and you have restitution, then you're not completely forgiven. You just did the
time
the confinement portion of it.
So you probably do get forgiveness once you pay back that money or whatever.
I'm sure if they got a pardon, I'm not fucking sure. If
I don't know.
if they get a pardon, I don't know. That's another good question. If they get a pardon, is their restitution wiped clear as well? Those some good questions right there. That would be cool. We might need to do a show on that, so all these little young sliders and steppers can watch that shit, since they're gonna choose a life of crime. At least you can know what the fuck you up against. If your goal is to go do 30 or 26 or 40 years in prison at 18, 19, 17.
Because that seems to be the goal, right?
24, 23, yeah. If you're trying to go lay down for 30, 40 years, maybe one of your homeboys a rapper or something, somebody play football, sports, they come up, something, become an attorney, own a business, whatever they may do, might be able to get you a presidential pardon. But I wouldn't gamble on that. I would gamble on trying to be the other thing versus learning about whether I'm going to still have to pay restitution or not if I get a pardon. Yeah, only if I plan on committing crimes and shit. Would that be useful to a career? That I'm just saying, like, it would. I don't think it'd be useful information, God. Like, do you think? Like, we looking it up just because we have a conversation, but like, honestly, like, who looking that shit up to? Why are they looking that up? Why that person looking that up? What you plan on doing?
You know, I think if you definitely if you're into prison reform, um, they should have a good understanding on the word forgiveness and what happens to these people when they get out, because it got to be important to somebody. I don't know.
Reform. Nah, don't go.
Yeah,
Yeah, that's the best prison reform. Don't go.
yeah,
You know, because I promise it's more people there for shit that they supposed to be there for than a few people that's there that get the brunt of the bullshit because they've been railroaded or something.
yeah.
Today, you know, maybe like back in the 80s and 70s and 60s and shit like that. But and maybe in the 90s too, because they was playing dope on people in the 90s and shit like that too. But
Big facts.
like now though, bro,
No,
hell nah. If you did, then you did some shit. You got caught. Especially in the federal penitentiary system, because the feds don't come get your ass till they got you.
all the time.
You know, so nah, I'm not. Yeah, even for prison reform. Shout out to the people that do prison reform too. I got a
Yo,
family member that do prison reform.
for the people that don't understand that statement about the feds don't come get you until they got you, right? Like as a federal employee, like the paperwork process for everything, for anything, is a long ass process, right? So for somebody for them to come and get you, that means they took the time to file all this, and they know for a fact that they got good reasons to come get your ass.
Yeah,
And a bunch of people signed off on this, so a bunch of people know about this. So like it's like they got you
on something.
on something, right? Like they don't might have you, they got you because a bunch of people had to sign off on them coming.
Yeah, yeah, it was a process. It was a whole process. That's definitely how they do, and they don't spare any expense or time or resource or anything when it's time to come get your ass. You gone. So, you know, don't do crime
Don't do crime.
because it takes a little while for the state and the federal system to forgive you than it does if you you know, steal $5 from your brother or some shit like that. You know, he might be like, you know, man, you could have just asked, you know. But them PPP loans, you know, we see a lot of them people, all of that coming to a head now. You know, and people didn't understand the loan forgiveness. That was something that people should have studied and paid attention to, because if you would have actually had a business, like I'm not, nah, I ain't even gonna do that. You know what I'm saying? But all you had to do was do something with your money towards your business. You know, not go buy a car and take vacations and shit like that. You know, so
You
like
just
if you
had just
just
had to do what you said you was gonna do.
that's it, just the stuff with your business, like you know, it's a way to work it in there. Like you could have went and did a conference somewhere and made the conference be your vacation, right? But like
Correct.
nobody wanted to put that effort into it. It's just shit. I got bank account full of money. I'm going spending, you know, not knowing that they coming for that ass. You better believe that. So yep, y'all, we got forgive. To cease to feel resentment against. To give up resentment of or claim, to requital for. To grant relief from payment of, and to grant.
Forgiveness.
To cease to feel resentment against. You know, a lot of people say, do you have any regrets? You know, but let's see what resent is real quick. Resentment. Let's see what that is. So we have a feeling of indignant displeasure or persistent ill will at something regarded as a wrong, insult, or injury. All right. Indignant displeasure or persistent ill will. All right.
Damn. Indignant displeasure.
Indignant displeasure and ill will, right? So cease to feel displeasure or ill will against,
The offender.
an offender. It's possible,
To
you
give
know, because you could because like you said, you might have to forgive yourself, right? So you have to stop feeling ill will with yourself too about something that you did. It's just like the example we used when we were talking about the family thing, and I was like, hey, I had somebody steal from me before. So I could feel like I could still feel like, damn, like I was wrong for the 3-piece with the biscuit. But I had to forgive myself because I had to acknowledge the space that we were in. I'm not saying the space made me do it because when it came down to it, like, he wasn't the only person getting the 3-piece with the biscuit. So, and it didn't even have to do nothing with stealing. That's just that was the nature of the environment. Okay. So you look at, like, when you're trying to survive in a place and you do what it takes to survive, you adapt to it. So all the things that happen in that place are things that were product of that environment. When you no longer in that environment, then you realize those things don't apply. You can take some lessons from it. Some things translate, but they translate through different application. So I could hold myself accountable. The ill will, I could hold the ill will against myself because I was like, damn, man, that is fucked up. Especially when you find out later on somebody's still holding that shit on their heart. You know what I'm saying? Where they haven't got to the place where you got to, where you like, we both was fucked up. Like, and you don't even realize you threw the first punch, bro. Like, you know what I'm saying? Like, and you still holding that shit down, like you want your lick back
from something that you did to me.
You know what I'm saying? When you threw the first punch and then you mad because you got beat up. Like, that's what that is. It's like you threw the first punch and then you mad because you got beat up. Now you want to fight. Now you want to fight every day. Or now you want to shoot. Like, how about we could both just say we wrong and then we don't have to fight no more? And especially if the person didn't whoop your ass. They didn't beat you up like you was somebody they didn't love. So, like, I had ass whoopings from people who loved me and people who didn't love me, and there was a difference. From like people who discipline you, who you like know who love you, and people who you like have permission to whoop your ass. It was a difference. So, I mean, it translates. That's why I say it translates. It just may not be the same application. But it's up to the person. Like, I understand everybody develop and everybody interprets things and learns things at a different pace. That's why we could have a 15-year-old rocket scientist and we could have, a 55-year-old bum ass nigga. Like, it could be, you could have that with no ambition, no nothing, no drive, nothing to even be like, shit, I'm alive, I'm 55. I got 10 years to make something happen. You know what I'm saying? I got 10 years to make something shake. Try it. But that other little young person might have been, they had a perfect environment. They became an astronaut around 15. or somebody made that environment, somebody provided that environment. It was nurtured, it was cultivated, it was something there to facilitate that, because that ain't no shit we see every day.
And they had to take advantage. I mean, like everything had to line up for something like that to happen, right? The person had to be willing, and they had to have the support system and the environment around them to facilitate it.
Yeah. Yeah. And nobody's looking to forgive the old nigga who ain't got shit going on. Nobody's like, we forgive you because you ain't what? That's their standard. That's somebody else's standard that they made for that person. That person may be comfortably fine with where they are in life. You know? So it definitely becomes a situation where people put themselves in these positions, and like, you can hold on to it or you can not hold on to it. It's up to you. You know, I think you can hold on to the ill will if you want to, but that leads to our second question of the evening, y'all. Is it possible to forgive and forget? If you say yes or no, explain why. Is it possible to forgive and forget? To do both. Forgive and forget. You know, let us know in the comment section if you think, yes, I can forgive and forget. Let us know why. Or no. Let us know why not. You know, the guy Ali Double L, the BK Soul Farm, explained earlier, he was just sharing the insight with us. He said he know that sometimes he hold grudges. You know, I know that sometimes I hold grudges too. I don't try to hold them too long though, but
Yeah.
but what I do look at is the other person's, like, what they doing, you know. So like let's say I got disagreement with somebody, and I'm not talking about people that I directly love, because people that I directly love, like, I just go ahead and deal with whatever their, like you said, their process. You know what I'm saying? Like, whatever their process is, like, I just be like, all right, you know what I'm saying? There's some shit, but, you know, but then you get to a certain point where you have to actually set a boundary, because it becomes that thing where it looks as if shit is tolerated. So you just tolerating things over and over again, you know. So then that person just keep pressing the line. They don't acknowledge the fact that you are being compassionate and having some consideration for them, and not trying to tell them what to do. You know what I'm saying? Trying to allow them to be responsible on their self and think about their own choices that they making. I mean, but what can you do? You know, either you become, then you put yourself in, like, now I'm becoming a victim. So, you know, so now is the kindness perceived as weakness? Because now you looking to take advantage. And I always say that, like, anybody who,
I think kindness is always taken for weakness.
Kindness ain't always taken for weakness, God. No, because I don't never take your kindness for weakness, and you don't never take my kindness for weakness. So kindness ain't always looked at, you know. And I'm not talking about situational. I'm talking about on a general scale.
Yeah.
You know, like, if you being kind, because that's how you want to be in the situation. Unless you know of a person's personality where it's just like, if you know somebody that it's like, in 20 years, I ain't never heard that person raise their voice.
No, I don't know nobody.
That shit still don't mean they kind. That just mean they don't do a whole lot of yelling.
Correct. They might be silent killers. Yeah, I don't know, man.
So all of these misinterpretations of shit is where people got it fucked up, because kindness should be identified by the action, instead of people trying to always figure you the fuck out. Mind your fucking business. Get a fucking life. You know what I'm saying? Focus on elevating your shit. Don't worry about what the fuck somebody else got going on that ain't trying to have you in their business. You know?
Just a little consideration is all you need.
A little consideration is all we need. Then we don't even have to get to forgiveness. But because, you know, people don't have no life, then we see these little different things transpiring. But
Forgive and forget, God. I don't know, man.
forgive and forget. Like, is it even possible? That's what we got. That's what we got, right? Is it possible to forgive and forget? If you say yes or no, explain why.
I don't know. Uh, I'm not sure. So I can accept, now that I've seen the definition of forgiveness, um, I can accept that. But I don't know if that means forgiving. That means forgetting too, right? Like I don't know if you can forget. Like I don't know if, like I don't know, right? Because if you set a boundary, that means that you remember. You know what I'm saying?
There's no
If
forgetting, right?
if you flinch, that means that your body remembers,
Right.
right? Like so, I don't know. Um, if somebody does something to you and then now and you do forgive that person and you hug them out and you don't let that thing become a nuisance or hindrance in y'all development in y'all relationship, but now you now carry yourself a little differently around with everybody else because of that situation. I don't know if you forgive and forgot. I think you gave that person a pass, but I think you charging everybody else. Um, so I don't know. Like I don't know if you can forgive and forget. Like I don't know. Um, I don't. And because I don't know, I'm gonna say no.
I'm with that. I'm with that. Yeah. I think it's a no too. I think you can't forgive and forget. How do you, if you forgive and forget, like the way it's taught, you need to learn to forgive and forget, right? Then how do you learn the lesson?
How do you learn?
How do you learn the lesson? Like, and then how do you know like what things like that you like and dislike? It's impossible. It's humanly impossible.
If you learn the lesson, are you holding grudges?
I mean, you could be holding a grudge because I don't know. You could be holding a grudge. I don't. And you know what? The only thing I think about holding grudges is when you don't communicate the shit. I think a person is holding a grudge when they haven't talked to the other party. You know what I'm saying? I
I
don't
take
think a
I take that back. Then I don't do that.
Yeah, like I think the grudge is when a person doesn't talk to somebody. If they
Okay.
be like, I don't want to talk to you anymore, like you holding a fucking grudge. You know what I'm
Yeah.
saying? Like because you can have a casual conversation and agree not to talk to each other.
Yeah. Now you definitely gonna know I'm pissed off at you,
You know?
and you're gonna know.
Yeah. So that's why I say like if I'm holding a grudge, I'm doing it on purpose. I know
Yeah,
I'm
I
holding
know.
a
Yeah,
grudge.
I'm being petty.
Yeah,
Yeah.
yeah. I'm just like fuck it. Like I don't want if I was if I tried to communicate with you and it was difficult, then I'm not gonna communicate with you no more because you making it difficult. So that is my form of the grudge to not talk to your ass no more, to not communicate. All right. But if you're not doing that intentionally, all right, if you do it with intent, then you definitely holding a grudge. If you're not doing it intentionally, then it's just time milling over so that way you can get back to having a conversation with somebody.
Word.
It's
Word.
just internalizing what's going on, process.
You literally processing.
You're literally just processing, whatever it was that affected you, so bad that either now you want the person to, you know, uh,
Getting to forgiveness.
Yeah, you want to give them forgiveness or them forgive you or however, you know.
That's why I said you're getting to forgiveness, right? So either way, right? Yeah.
Yeah, to
But
no more ill will, to no more resentment, to
but
no more.
forget though.
That's what I'm saying. Like if you forget, then you subject to get done that way again. And to me, I'm just like, you know, the first time that it happens, it's like you'll do that. You would do that because that's your actions. So
And you did it.
And you did it. So it's only me now, you know, giving you the opportunity
To do it again.
Yeah, to do it again. For me to accept that shit as normal behavior.
To decide if I'm gonna accept it as normal behavior from you or not.
From
Yeah.
you or not, right? You know, and that's selfish. That's selfish as shit, man. That's no consideration. That's that's a complete disregard or consideration of others that you may affect. It's not even thinking about the other people you may affect or how they may react or respond, or if you punch and they shoot, if you punch and they call the police, if you bring a knife and they bring a you know what I'm saying, and shit get out of hand, you know. So it's just like you got to think about if you're going to throw a punch or not. That's where that choosing battles makes sense. You know, wisely pick your battles. That ain't just some church shit. You know what I'm saying? Like you really got to be out here thinking about the decisions and choices that you make, because they put us in situations. They put us in everything that we do, put us in the situation that we in.
100% facts.
Every choice that we make put us in the situation we in. Ain't nobody exempt from that, unless you a baby, because you got somebody else making your choices for you. You know, or mentally,
correct,
disabled, or physically disabled, mentally or physically, and it depends on the level or severity of your physical disabilities too. You know, being fair, you know, to everybody, man. So, you know, God, we asked that question: is it possible to forgive and forget? You know, we going with no. I know I'm going with a strong no on that.
Strong no, God.
And I think just, you know, just to reiterate the why, like, how do you learn the lesson? You know, and I think that's the part that hurts too a lot. I think that's the part that stings. You know, peace, family. I think that's the part that stings a little bit because the forgetting is where the hurt is. And then you said, like you said, that guarding of self going forward is where, like, now that's where it's a discomfort, because you got to be guarded. You can't feel comfortable no more. You
correct.
know? And that's why, you know, that's why, like,
and that's why I get my first question of, like, did you really forgive because you are now guarded, right? Like,
right.
Like did you, like, and that's why I said, like, so you might forgive this person and forget, but you now change your actions for everybody else. You got this whole guard up. Like, did you really forgive for real, for real?
But you know what? But usually a person won't do that. A person will take the same type of treatment from other people that they take from everybody. You know, like so like if you a person who don't mind arguing, right? Like you're an argumentative person.
Mm-hmm.
Then probably every relationship that you be in, you're gonna be argumentative because it's you. It ain't even really the other person.
You like to argue.
Because you like to argue. So those behaviors carry on, and people see that in their same relationships, and they don't see it. They'll keep blaming, because it's easy to blame somebody else for your fuck up, to not be accountable, to not look at yourself. You know, it's
and acknowledge that you like to argue.
And acknowledge that you are an arguer. You know what I'm saying? So, you know, so when a person does that, if they have the integrity to acknowledge that about themselves, then what will happen is now they can do something to improve it if they don't like the result of it.
I think the new buzzword is emotion intelligence.
Oh yeah, that been out for a while. I just know
Has
that,
it?
bro. That been out since our first episode. I just don't. I ain't even. It's an internet word. Like it wasn't no such thing as emotional intelligence before.
I hate that
Like
shit.
you know, like and it's just and that's cool. You know, if it's I don't fuck with it either. But if it's something that begins to get people to think more about the choices that they make, then yeah, that's cool. If it's just on how to get a girl and how to get a boy, you
Correct.
know what I'm saying? Then like,
Correct. And that's where it's at. That's why I'm like,
yeah,
yeah, because it ain't about the real words and the real essence of the things.
yeah, you
Yeah.
know, so because to be intelligent, like they just what y'all trying to compete with artificial intelligence? That shit is artificial. You know what I'm saying? That come from the emotional intelligence is what they program in AI with.
Quiet as kept.
Did I tell it? I ain't told it. You know what I'm saying? So yeah, God, I just think that it's difficult to do if we are focused on the lessons that come um from our tries in direction to our goals. You know, that forgive is in the equation, but forgetting ain't in the equation. And I'm like, I don't know how you can do both of them.
I don't know how.
You know,
I don't know how or why you would want to do both of them. Because you would have to be able to protect yourself going forward. Like, and if that's not part of the going forward, that sound like somebody trying to set you up. Right? Like,
yeah, because I don't get to forgive. I mean, I don't get to forget. That's the part where, you know, this is a cliche. Everybody be like, learn to forgive and forget. You should forget and forgive and move on and blah blah blah. And like people say that shit like it's so casually.
yeah,
But
that
it's
just sounds like
like
you can just
so,
keep hitting me. That sounds like you can just keep on hitting me, and I don't like that.
that's what it sounds like,
I
right?
don't like that.
You know, and then that comes to the why you hold a grudge,
Why?
you know? And that's where we say, like, okay, well, if you holding a grudge, then you're hiding something from the other person if you haven't communicated it.
Correct.
Then you're hiding something from the other person. If it's somebody you care about, that's foul. Because you don't
Yeah.
care about that person if you want to hide something from them.
Correct.
And like I say, like people you care about, family, you know what I'm saying? Like at least try to be the best version of yourself with them. Because the world is going to give you enough people to tell to kiss your ass. You know what I'm saying? They're going to do that shit on their own. Because so many people want to throw jabs, but then hide their hand and shit. You know, so all of them people gonna get a swift ass kissing. Or
Yeah.
swift or like I like to say, I won't even give you my ass to kiss. Fuck with me. I already told you that whole to ignore. Remember, forgive had a sentiment to ignore for real. Like as in ignore, what was that in the thesaurus? Yeah, to ignore. Like I won't even give you dismiss as little importance. I won't even give you my ass to kiss. You know, because my favorite Jay-Z line is, "It cost me nothing to pay you no mind." You know, and that's going back to my mental peace, my spiritual peace. You know, like I gotta have some shit. I gotta have handlebars on. You know, and I don't know if forgiveness really plays a part in that. I don't know if my new religion allows for forgiveness.
Especially forgive and forget.
You know, because the forget makes the forgiveness almost impossible. The forget makes the forgive impossible. Forgive and forget. It's impossible. How? And what did they say? No ill will. You know, what was that? No, that was no ill will. Pardon me.
That means you just want to let everything just go. Like you gotta just,
you know, bitterness or anger.
You're not mad about it no more. You're not
resentment. You know, and that's more so what that resentment was about, like to not resent it. You know, let me see, put this back up right quick. Yeah, feeling of indignant displeasure, persistent ill will, you know, and that persistent ill will where it's just something there regarded as a wrong, an insult, or injury. You know,
now. You know, I'm thinking about that just now, and I'm 100% with forgiving because of that word, that indignant displeasure, right? I don't want to walk around carrying a heavy load if I can just ignore it and let it go and make it value zero, right? Because if it can value zero, that means even if I do keep it on me, it don't weigh nothing, and it don't stop me from doing nothing else I'm doing, nothing else that I want to do, nothing else that I need to do, and it won't even affect my mood, right? Because it values zero, right? But to have feelings about it means that I want to feel that, I want to retain that feeling of indignant displeasure for as long as I want to retain that feeling for it. And that's self-sabotage, like that's self-hate, like that's harmful, like, and that's something that you're doing to yourself, like that's not even something that somebody else is doing to you, right? Like you are allowing yourself to, that's how you get ulcers and stuff like that.
that sounds like a lot of stress. It do. It does.
All right, like I said, I'm sold on forgiving. I'm sold on that based on based on the definition. I can get with forgiving, but the forgetting part, I can't get. That's a fairy tale fantasy that somebody trying to sell us on some BS.
The forgive and forget. That's trick knowledge.
That's trick knowledge. That's what I'm thinking, because you can't learn lessons if you forgot.
If you just forget it, right?
And if you didn't learn the lessons, then you cannot be successful in life, because in life you have to remember your lessons.
So you don't repeat them again. You know, or you repeat the ones that you want to.
Yeah,
to get the recipe.
Yeah, like you just have to remember your lessons. You got to look both ways before you cross the street. Like you have to remember that. You know what I'm saying? Otherwise, you might die.
Yeah.
Right? Like cross on the green and not in between. You got to remember your lessons, right? Like, because it's important. But if you just forget them and forget and just, oh, it didn't happen, it doesn't matter.
A lot of people look at it like that.
It does matter. Like it does matter. Like, it can't not matter, right? Like if it happened, it matters.
If it happened, it matters. That's how I look at it too. But I have been around people who don't care about it. Like, you know, whatever, things should just continue to be normal for the greater good of other people. I was just like, that shit wow to me. You know what I'm saying? Like I'm not a fan of pulling up on negative energy. You know? I'm not a fan of that. I'm not a fan of, well, you know, because this group of people or this exact person or this person or whatever doesn't want to forgive and forget. They want to hold or they want to act like shit never happened. You know? And I think, you know, you said something earlier. I think that you can hold a grudge.
Mm-hmm.
And I think that it don't even have to be a bad grudge. Like I think we sometimes put a little bit too much on grudge, too much emphasis on grudge negatively. Like, like why the fuck is grudge so negative? Because when we look at the learning lesson, we sitting up here talking about forgiving and forgetting. Like that grudge is tied into that ill will, that feeling,
Yeah.
you know, that displeasure, that indignant displeasure, and that ill will. It's all tied into the same thing. Now, you may not show it, and that's the thing where I think women are better than men at not showing it, because naturally women ain't like, I'm gonna punch you in your face.
Mm-hmm.
That's some ratchet hood, you know, been around boys type shit. You know, pretty girls ain't trying to do that.
True.
You know, so I'm not saying that a woman shouldn't learn how to protect and fight and all that. Yeah, you can teach a girl how to box. You know what I'm saying? My homeboy got a daughter that box. Shout out to her. But but on a basis, you know, 10 out of 10, 10 girls out of, you know, one of them is boxing. Not 10 out of 10.
Correct.
You know. So, you know, so like that's cool in that instance. But I mean, for the most part, women mostly have the patience to deal with that. You know, they do the talking. The first thing they're gonna try to do is out talk you or loud talk you. You know, and
Women
I mean,
argue and men move furniture.
you know, and I'm just like, you know, and that's too, and I'm talking about the, you know, young, foolish,
Yeah.
because some women don't to be like, we not doing all that arguing like that. You know, like we can have a conversation, we adults. Let's just talk about what we need to talk about and discuss it. You know, some people ratchet and they just gotta yell and scream and pout and, you know, be immature about shit. Like
Do the head nods and the no.
all that dumb shit that don't get nothing solved. You know what I'm saying? So
Pop-
or right, or take you all the way around the block before you got to cross the fucking street. Yeah, you know what I'm saying? You want to take a motherfucker around the block 2 times when we could just look both ways and cross the fucking street? Dummy.
So what you
You
got to
know,
do is you got to look to your left, and anything you see on your left, it all counts and qualifies. Then you got to look to your right. Yeah. So you're saying he's got to look both ways before we cross.
I mean, you could, or you could just say fuck it, you know, and you could just wait on it. If you in a crosswalk, you could just wait on the green and gamble with your life. Like fuck it, it's green. They supposed to stop. Ain't nobody gonna hit me, so I don't need to look both ways, right?
Mm.
See, some people be living like that,
Oh. Oh.
and then
That's
fuck around
scary.
and somebody run the intersection because your ass ain't want to look both ways, and you dead.
Oh. That's ooh.
So you can't even trust the crosswalk. Could Jesus trust his crosswalk? No, they killed him.
Mm.
Amen. You know what I'm saying? So where was the forgiveness and forget about what Jesus had going on? So that's why I'm saying, like, we get it from there first, but it's not an example of forgiveness at fucking all. Okay? If you get murdered, they ain't forgive you. They killed you. Plain and simple. So like, it's all being taught on some bullshit. You know, that's my interpretation of it. Remember, we not the gurus. We just be smoking on words like 2 big nerds. You know what I'm saying? And if you like something in the ashtray, pick it up. You know, have a smoke. If you don't, leave something for somebody else to smoke. But from that perspective, I look at it like that's an insight that like Jesus ain't get forgiven and forgot. And that was supposed to be here on earth, right? That was supposed to take place on here. So that wasn't even that's supposed to be the most holiest of the most holy. Okay. But they ain't even forgive and forget that dude. So what make we think that we can forgive and forget? Or somebody gonna forgive and forget for us? It's not real. We wouldn't even need, I'm to the point where, you know what, I ain't even gonna go there yet. I'm gonna drop that later on. You know what I'm saying? But you know, God, but we're gonna go ahead and move on to our third question this evening. If y'all just joining us or y'all just checking out the live here, man, make sure to like the video, please, y'all. It helps with the algorithm. Plus, it's free. It's the freest thing you can do to support us. You could go and get some merch, though. We got links in the description. If y'all want to grab some merch, that'll be great too. It's the summertime is here. We got great, and the springtime, the weather's right. Go check out what we got. We got caps, we got shirts, we got hoodies, we got cups, mugs, everything. Get you something. Get you something for your fireplace. Get you something for your vehicle. Get you something for you when you work out, aerobics, whatever you got going on. We got dog bowls. Don't you got dog bowls and pet stuffs and all that stuff on there too, God? So
all that, son.
Yeah, so we got everything, y'all. Go and check it out. We appreciate y'all. We appreciate the love. Tonight we've been talking about forgive. We smoking on the word forgive, and we have gotten to our third question this evening. Is to forgive a weakness or strength? Let us know what y'all think in the comments. Is to forgive a weakness or strength? You know, and when y'all let us know in the comments, y'all can go ahead and tell us why you think it's that, why you think it's a weakness or why you think it's a strength.
You know, God, going into this, I was looking at the word from a victim's perspective, right? Which I guess is the only way you can really look at it. But in reading the definitions, what keeps sticking out to me is to be relieved from indignant displeasure. And to relieve yourself of that indignant displeasure is a super duper power. Like that is a strength, right? In my mind and in my heart, that you are allowing yourself to let that go, to ignore that situation, right? And you are strong enough to move on, right? To put that down, right? To not to carry that burden and not to let that thing weigh you down and slow up your progress for all of the wonderful things that you had planned to do prior to this bump in the road. So so because of that indignant, to be relieved of indignant displeasure, like I like that. It changed my thought process on it. So I'm gonna say that if I'm forgiven to, you know, if I'm looking at it from a Ali perspective, from something that a person is doing, that is a very strong thing to do, and you'll be a stronger person by doing it.
No doubt. I agree with the strength. I also say it's a weakness. And that's what we answering y'all right now at the stage. Is forgiveness a weakness or a strength? That's the question we asking right now, y'all. We answering right now. I'm gonna say it's also a weakness too, because of how we're taught it to forgive and forget. So because we taught it to forgive and forget, then it allows us in the weakness of forgiveness to be victimized again by people that we make all of these exceptions for, because we feel like we obligated to make these exceptions for these people, whether it could be a family, it could be a boyfriend, girlfriend, it could be a marital relationship where you're getting treated foul, you know, where, or you just don't like what's going on. You don't like your interaction. So when you have these things and they occur, you know, people just expect for you to, well, that's how family is, or well, that's how relationships are sometimes. Well, that's how, and it's like, well, I'm in control of it. That shit don't have to be like that with me. I don't have to have my shit like that. I only got to come around you and tolerate that type of shit. You know, so that's where the forget come. That's where it's hard to forget. And that is what will be playing out when you saying, I don't want to come around. I don't want to be involved in that shit. I don't want to be with that person no more. I don't want to deal with this situation no more. I'm done. I'm ignoring. I'm through with that. That is from that forget part that you can't shake. Like the guy said, the feeling to actually, the indignant part of it, the feeling of showing anger, because it is about feeling or showing the anger, you know, yeah, you have to be strong to not feel or show it. But I don't think you have to be that strong to do that. I could just think that you could not give a fuck that much about it. Okay.
Some
So
people might call that strength, God.
yeah, some people might call that strength, you know, but I say it's not giving a fuck about it because you don't care about the result. You don't care about the outcome. And it's very difficult for people. I think it's humanly impossible for a person to not give a fuck about something that they care about, the outcome or the result.
I agree.
You know, so, you know, or things that you value. So if we talk about, like, if it was a family situation and we asking this question here where it's like, you know, is forgiveness or weakness or strongness? Where I'm saying, okay, well, in a family situation, it could it could be perceived as a weakness because you just keep on allowing people to treat you a certain way, you know, and you don't say anything, you don't do anything, you just allow shit to continue as normal. You never professed, or you professed it, and people like, you know what, I don't give a fuck. That's just what it is.
Mm.
You know, I don't care how you feel about the shit at all. So it is what it is. Love me or leave me alone. But then when you pick to leave them fucking alone, now it's a
Why you
problem.
leaving me alone? Why you leaving me alone?
You
What's
know,
wrong with you? All I did was hurt you a couple times, 2, 3, 4, 5 times. I'm
well,
only human. I'm only your family. I only love you.
right. You know, so you could be in a relationship with somebody who's cheating. Once they do it the first time, you accepted it. They do it a second time, then you all on board. Then you all the way on board. So how when they do it the third time, now your line is drawn. So that forgiveness that's been happening is perceived as a weakness, at least by the perpetuator, the offender, because they keep on doing it. And it may not even be to them as a weakness. They just saying, fuck it, you allowing it to happen. So this is our normal interaction. So because we interact like this normally, because we're accustomed to this, then guess what? It ain't no real problem. If you ain't have a problem with it then, why you got a problem with it now? So that could be perceived as a weakness to take advantage of. The person could be taking advantage of it. I know that. I know he ain't gonna leave me. I know she ain't gonna leave me. I done already did it 2, 3, 4 times. We still here. So that is acceptable. It's no need to forgive and forget. That is normal activity. That's how, you know, I done bigged them up enough. That sound like Will and Jada, you know what I'm saying? But I'm just taking a shot. I love y'all. You know what I'm saying? But that's what it looked like. You know, some red table talk shit. It don't look like, you know, we're actually being considerate, thinking about the things we do so that we don't have to get to this. So we don't have to get to a red table. you know, and as far as it, like, you know, like I said, just being a strength, like, I don't know. I think sometimes that strength is more like, I think it is strong for a person to be able to mentally just say, you know, fuck it, yeah. But I mean, we do that. Everybody already picking and choosing, and people saying fuck it about shit that they don't need to be saying fuck it about, that they need to be actually more invested in.
People saying fuck it about most of the stuff they need to really be.
Yeah. You know?
Yeah.
So I definitely look at it as like, it's two sides of the coin. That, you know, you can be forgiving someone or a person or a group of people or whatever it may be, and they could think because you're just forgiving, you know, that it's a weakness because they keep on doing it. But in their brain, they might say, oh, he's strong enough to take, or she's strong enough to take this abuse. You know? So then they don't want to change either. They don't even want to, and I'm not even say change completely as a whole human being. I'm talking about change how they deal with you. That's it.
Yeah.
Because I always say I don't have a problem with how you treat everybody else, but you can't treat me any old raggedy fucking way because I ain't going for it. You know what I'm saying? I wouldn't do you like that. I don't treat nobody raggedy. Don't nobody know me that could say I treated their ass raggedy. Nobody. So I stand on that as who I am as a man, as how my mother raised me, how my granddad and grandmama raised me, where I'm cut from. You know, that shit means something to me. Treating people with respect. We ain't talking about no gangster shit. That is gangster to me. You know, if you a stand-up individual, if people fuck with you and it ain't because of a money or it ain't because of something that you got, it's because for real, like that Martin Luther King, we was talking about the content of your character. But they had to know that, they had to experience that because you had to treat them a certain way.
Correct.
Your actions had to be reflective of it. You know, so if you're doing funny style shit, then you should get funny style fucking results. If you being straight up with somebody, then everything should be cool all the time. It ain't hard, you know, unless you on fuckery or sucker shit, or, you know, got a hidden agenda, some conniving, you know, scandalous, what they call it, you know, a whole bunch of bullshit, pretty much. And then we can't get to no forgiving. You know, we damn sure ain't gonna do no forgetting. It's impossible. It's impossible. You know, that, like we was talking that time, like you have a conversation with somebody and we say it's forgiveness, a weakness, or a strength. And even talking about forgiving or forget, for tying both of these to two. If you have a conversation with a woman, let's say you're dating a woman, you're having a conversation and y'all get into an argument. And in that argument, y'all talking, well, in that discussion, let me say it's a discussion, but it turns into an argument. It's a conflict trying to resolve, right? But then it gets escalated. All right. So you may not want to take it there, but you just might got time today. Like, fuck it, I just got time today. You know what I'm saying? Like, cause it's unnecessary. So you want to circle around the block before we cross the street. Fuck it. I got time to walk with your ass around the block today. Okay. So you can have that conversation around that block. You can walk around that block 3 times. You could say one thing in that whole 3 times. You done said a lot. You might have listened a lot and you might have said a lot, but you could say one thing. And that's the only thing that stuck. That's the only thing that they remember. And 9 times out of 10, that is the least productive part of the conversation.
The least important.
The least important thing.
The most throwawayable. Like it is a non-factor. It was more so just a space filler to make the sentence fuller.
And it might not even been necessary. It might not
That's what
even
I'm saying. It might
it
not
might
even
not
be.
even been helpful to the resolve.
That's what I'm saying, right? Just
You
a
know,
space filler, not even nothing important at all.
but like we said earlier, a lot of times people won't realize that they threw that punch.
Hmm.
You know, so how you want me to keep my cool, but you won't keep your cool?
Which is why consideration is important, right? Which all this comes back down to communication, because the question is who threw the first punch, and in your reckless speech, your careless speech, where you wasn't necessarily intending or meaning to say something harmful, you may have said something inflammatory, and this person may have heard it the way that they heard it, and then that might be where you guys got to pause and get resolution at before you can go further, because there is an unreadiness, right? But unless y'all communicate that, you won't even know that you threw a punch, right? And
Some people don't know what's punches
that's what I'm saying. That's
because
what I'm.
because because
That's
you
what I'm saying.
because see, you may be used to engaging and interacting with people like that. You know what I'm saying? Like I was like I give you an example. Like I was having a dispute with a neighbor, and a neighbor called me a nigger. You
Hmm.
know what I'm saying? That it's a black neighbor. But I'm like, damn, if I was white, would you have called me a cracker over the same thing? You know what I'm saying? So like, did the conversation warrant that we needed to even be, you know, that race even needed to come up as a part or as a play in what needed to be resolved? But when you can't communicate, when you don't have the ability to communicate, and you feel like that you're being attacked, but you're not, you're being questioned because you throwing punches.
And a lot of that inability stems from lack of desire, right? And it's not lack of desire to communicate, is lack of desire to learn to communicate better, right? Because a lot of us, what happens is, because we get older, and because we say cliche things like, look, as old as you are, you should know better, right? Like, that's, I get it, but we all got different experiences, different upbringings, and different realities. So you may very well know stuff that I have no knowledge of at all, and that doesn't make you a better person than me, but it does make you more knowledgeable on this particular subject than I am. And that still doesn't make you better than me. It just makes you more knowledgeable until I learn.
In that subject. Yeah. That make me better than you in that subject. That's it.
That's until I learn, right? Like,
Yeah. If you desire to learn, we talked about that all the time. If I
if
desire to learn it. If
because
I desire
because
to
I could
learn it.
just defer to you being great at that, and I'm like, yo, I need something. I'm gonna need something chefed up. Pearl, what I'm touching the grill for, right? Like, yeah, right. Like, but that's again communication, consideration, right? And the desire, right, to want to do better, to want to learn, and that's it, right? The desire to want to learn, because again, just because you get older doesn't mean that a 70-year-old person doesn't mean that they are wise. Doesn't even mean
Hell nah. They could just be an old person.
doesn't even mean that they're elder. They can just be an old
They could
person,
just be
right?
an old person. You know what I'm
Right?
saying? They ain't got
And
no knowledge for real, nothing really useful that's gonna help nobody for real. You know, they can talk a lot of shit.
they talk a lot of shit, right?
That's
And
it. But I mean, but they don't have nothing that's gonna really be like,
beneficial.
beneficial, not something that you can go do and present and be like, and make a lifestyle off of and grow, or you know what I'm saying? Like it ain't. And then it is some 70-year-olds that can give you a whole handful of,
A lot of them.
whole handful of knowledge. Like, but
Yeah.
and seeing people be like, and I know we always say, like, you can learn from a bum,
Yeah.
so don't look a gift horse in the mouth, or Don't judge a book by its cover, all these cliches and shit. You know, but like you can learn from everyone. You know, I mean, you learn from children, you learn from elders. You know, it's the thing about, like you said, do a person desire? Do they want to? Is that their desire to be better at communicating, to be better at being responsible for their own shit, to be better at their finances, to be better at their marriage, to be better in their relationships, professional or boyfriend or girlfriend or whatever the case, whatever type of partner and partner relationships, whatever they got going on.
Yep.
You know what I'm saying? So like all of that stuff has to be considered by the doer in the first place before we even get to a forgive.
Yep.
You know, and a lot of times if that is considered, then there is no need for forgive. Like we wouldn't even need the word forgive. We wouldn't need it if we were taught consideration as much as if consideration was pushed down our throats as much as the word forgiveness and forgiving, like even in the biblical context, the world might be different.
Dog, like with consideration, like there is no offending.
Ain't nobody getting offended. Everybody being mindful. It ain't everybody walking
Like,
on glass. It's just
no,
you.
it's not.
It's
You're
just
not walking on glass.
you just being considerate. Like, hey, that's somebody else shit. You know what
That's
I'm
somebody
saying?
else shit. Like that person is not angry with me, or they don't necessarily think I'm a piece of shit, or whatever. Like they might be having a bad day or whatever. Who knows, right? Whatever. Is you won't feel offended first unless you're being attacked, and now you need to defend yourself.
Right. And if you're not being attacked,
Don't defend yourself.
right, you know, but don't try to fake defend yourself and feel like you being attacked when you already threw the first punch. You know, and that's
Correct.
what we have a lot of going on now. You know, where people will act like I said, you know, I responded and said bitch, but I ain't respond and say black bitch. You see what I'm saying? So because if it was a white person, I would have said bitch. You know, you calling me a nigga, like, you know, like why we even having that conversation? You
At
know?
all.
So when it's being used, I'm looking at it as like it's being used to antagonize. I don't give a fuck who it's coming from. Because if I didn't come at you like that, then don't come at me like that. Don't give me that. Let's stay focused on the issue. The issue is this. The issue ain't whether we niggas and bitches. You know what I'm saying? Because the niggas and bitches don't live where the fuck I live at. You know, unless you the first bitch or the
'Cause I
first
ain't the
nigga.
first.
You know, unless you're
Cause
making it known that you're the first bitch or the first nigga. You know
not
what I'm
it.
saying? Because you know, and then I need to know that because that lets me know to keep my fucking distance. Because you know what I'm saying, I ain't with that nigga shit. I ain't with all that. You
Let me
know what I'm
build this
saying?
fence. Yeah.
Yeah, like I think we're better. I think we can do better than that.
Yeah.
You know, I think we're above that. I think we just need to try harder, and we won't fail. You know, but I can't put another person in a higher place, and they ain't exemplifying that. You exemplifying piece of shit, but I'm gonna praise you. But I'm gonna hold you to regard. I'm gonna treat you just as nice as I treat myself, but you already exemplified that you cool with piece of shit treatment.
Prefer it actually.
Yeah, that you prefer it. So that's what I'm saying. Like, you know, people will put themselves in their own position to not be forgiven, you know, because things will happen where people can't forget. Because to forgive and forget is, to me, is humanly fucking impossible. You know, you can act like you don't care.
Would you say act like?
Yeah, you can act like you don't care. You know, but the only way to improve the quality of your life is to learn from your lessons.
Got to remember your lessons.
So forgiving and forgetting is like forget about it.
Forget about it for real.
Forget about that shit. For real, guys. Forget about that shit. They can keep that. It's not gonna be a thing. So yeah, y'all. Tonight we've been smoking on the word forgive. And we had 3 questions this evening. Our first question was, what do you think of when you hear the word forgive? If you are still with us from the beginning, or you hear in the end, don't forget to leave a comment on the video of what you think of when you hear the word forgive. We like to hear it. Also, our second question, is it possible to forgive and forget? If you said yes or no, explain why. Also drop that in the comments, y'all. And third, is to forgive a weakness or a strength? Let us know what you think. If you think that, the ability to forgive is a weakness or a strength. We like to see what your perspectives are, what our viewers' perspectives are. And then of course, our final question tonight, that magical question that we ask about every word that we smoke on here on Cigar Sundays, is the word forgive bad, good, or misunderstood?
So for me, I got 2 things: is good and is misunderstood. Right. The word itself for me is good. And again, I'm gonna go back to the relief of indignant displeasure. Like I like the idea of relieving myself of an unnecessary burden or unnecessary displeasure that I don't need to deal with. Right? Going to work, having a 9 to 5 is not an indignant displeasure. Like that is a necessity for life, for my livelihood, right? But somebody going in my pocket every chance that they get because they want to, or because they got 2 hands and they got free will, and they think that I'm the ATM itself. I don't necessarily need that, right?
Right.
So I can relieve myself of that indignant displeasure and feel good about myself and enjoy my livelihood, right? So I like the idea of that. Is misunderstood solely because of, like you said, the way that forgiveness is taught to us is coupled with forgiving and forgetting, right? It is not one or the other, is one and the other. And I don't like that at all, right? Because you can never, from a religious standpoint, you'll never make it to heaven as long as you flinch, right? Or you guard yourself, or you, because you're gonna always be holding on to it, right? Like so, I just can't get with that. I don't like that thought process of forgive and forget. So I think that is heavily misunderstood, and I think that that needs to be thrown out. Or we probably should have pushed the button on that to see what they how they define forgive and forget. Um, but we'll catch up on that next time, or maybe everybody can do that on their own personal time, right? Because just the way that it sounds fugazi to me.
I saw a definition of it. Forgive and forget was just as in forgiveness.
Oh, okay.
So that's all they gave. They didn't really give a whole
That's corny.
breakdown of it. And
That's
I didn't feel that they could, based on where we are with it right now, learning the definitions,
Yeah.
you know, and talking about whether it's bad, good, or misunderstood. Like, was you finished on your
Yeah, God, that's where I'm
yeah,
at with it, because if that's what the definition, then it don't help.
no doubt. Well, I'm going to agree with you for your misunderstood and your goods, and I'm going to say that it's bad. And I say that the word forgive is bad is because if we had more consideration, we would not even need this word in existence.
Snapple fact.
So I'm saying it's a bad word because everybody who is in position to forgive is somebody that done did something. You done did something. If I'm asking for forgiveness, I don't care if I did something, God forgive me. If I go in a quiet corner, I'm asking God to forgive me for some shit. And it's probably something that I don't want to share with nobody else. I know I ain't shouldn't have been doing it. Okay. So you still asking for, you know, you wrong about something. Or why would you even ask God, your God, to forgive you? You know?
And why you whispering?
And why you whispering, right? So if you going, and I don't get that somebody will go whisper to God, but then they want to hoop and holler at you. You know what I'm saying? Like, the fuck, man. Like, you don't have to treat me like I'm God, but like, can we be godly towards each other? You know? So, or maybe not. But even if you are presenting it to a person, if you are another human being, you still asking for them, can you forgive me? Can we move on? Can you find it in your heart to, you know what I'm saying, understand, blah, 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 whatever. It's taught like begging for forgiveness. So that's a lot of reason why people have a problem with admitting the fucked up shit that they do and apologizing and being sincere, because they don't want to feel like they begging for forgiveness, which is they don't want to take accountability for throwing their punch. So my opinion is that, you know, forgiveness is a horrible word. That forgive is a fucked up ass word, and like we wouldn't even need it if consideration was more of along of the human values that we possess and we exemplified with each other in
Yeah,
all situations.
I want to add your definition to my definition as well. Your answer to my answer. I like your bad for the exact same reasons, right? Because if we had consideration, we wouldn't even need it in the first place.
Yeah.
So yeah, I agree.
Yeah. It's wild like that though. It's wild like that. And it's amazing how powerful this word is too, though. That's another thing. We just answered whether it's bad, good, misunderstood, but it's definitely a powerful word because we see the meaning that it has and we see all of the effects and consequence. You know, and that's one of the biggest things. It's like, look how it's an emotional connection, but then there's also physical action that has to happen. So your emotions can't get scarred until somebody do something wrong, you know, or something that you disagree with. And then there's a physical thing that has to happen because now I have to internalize it. And then if I feel compelled to, I need to go apologize and I need to go correct my wrong. You know, I need to go, and it's not righted. It's just corrected, because it doesn't mean that shit gonna go back the way you thought it was. You might have ruined that. You know, you might, I've went and I've done a thing before, hurt somebody. At least they told me I did. I was fucked up. And then I went back and apologized. And then they was just like, okay, well, that was a deal breaker. So you can't expect everybody to want to accept your apology. You know, no matter what I think about it, no matter what my thoughts about it, the actions that happened after was okay. Maybe I was willing to accept responsibility and ask for forgiveness, but then the person on the receiving end just really wanted to hear me ask for forgiveness, but they didn't really want to, you know, they didn't want to continue the relationship.
Correct.
So, you know, then only way you can look at that is like, well, hell, you know what I'm saying? Like I tried, you know, but if their ego is what they allowing to make them feel as though where they just wanted to get an apology, like that's some corny shit. And people do this where they'll just want to hear you beg them for some shit, you know, like what is that because you've always been the beggar, now you want me to beg you for some shit, you know? So like, and that's where the forgive and forget come in, because you'll just be like, I can forgive, but then I can't forget the bullshit that you want to put somebody through, you know, when we don't have to do this. And that doesn't matter what the situation, what the application of it is. And that's why I just think the shit is bad. Like it's just bad because it allows people to make excuses for they fucked up shit and then come back and ask somebody to forgive them for it, you know? And then they want to act like, oh, like they never did that fucked up shit. Like it never happened. Like they want you to forget. And I think subconsciously they be in the back like, I wonder if that motherfucker remember that shit I did, blah, blah, blah. You know? That's why my conscience is clear, man. I have a conversation with everybody.
Yep.
You know, most of the people that want to bring up something I may have done wasn't even involved in shit. You know what I'm saying? Or didn't even have nothing to do with nothing. They just
heard the story.
They just heard a story or something, or they see you where you are now and they just want to bring that shit up. You know what I'm saying? Because they don't feel like they where you at right now. So they just want to remind you of, you know what I'm saying, some shit that you done been reminded yourself of where you, like, nigga, you don't have to remind me where I came from. I came from it.
Some shit you forgave yourself
and,
over.
And you didn't help me. You know what I'm saying? I came from it and you didn't help me.
That's what I wanted to say. When you was talking and you were saying in reference to you actually go to forgive somebody and they just want to hear you beg, right? I think that's where forgiving yourself becomes super important, because you have to acknowledge that you did do wrong,
right?
And you
not wrong, but you did make that person feel wronged. Not
correct.
That you did wrong, you made them feel wrong.
Made them feel, yeah, right.
Yeah, like you don't necessarily, because you haven't even explained your actions yet, and your actions could have been pure and genuine. It's just their interpretation of the shit.
Correct.
You know,
and then once you apologize for their perceived wrongness and they still don't accept it, at that moment, right, is when you got to be like, yo, I acknowledge what I did, I apologize for it, and I'm moving on, right? You got to forget, like that is you forgiving yourself, not I got to now figure out how to repair this relationship. I gotta now figure out like why they holding on to this thing so long. Who cares?
Nah, fuck it. Nah. Nah, not with Chef Earl Pearl, man. Like, you know what I'm saying? Like I told you, like I don't have no problem with just like being like, okay, you know, that's my coping mechanism. My coping mechanism is to leave you the fuck alone. Yeah. You know, that's what I said. So like that's been my coping mechanism. You know what I'm saying? So some people would try to do the same shit that you taught them how to do. You know what I'm saying? Like nothing's authentic. You know what I'm saying? Like nothing's authentic.
Yeah.
You know, so that's why it's funny. That's why I'd be like, all right, you know, you just move on. Like how else can you have to remove yourself from indignant from the indignancies.
They didn't displeasure.
Yeah, the displeasures of it. You have to. And I think that goes to with me even correlating myself to similar situations like that. It's where it's the I don't give a fuck no more. You
Yeah.
know what I'm saying? Because when I did give a fuck, I worried about the forgive and forget. You know, I had focused on wanting to make sure that if things was if things needed to be forgiven or they need to be worked out or they need to be discussed, that they could be, you know. But it take two or three or however many in the party. You know, you can forgive yourself all the fuck you want. But if you show up to a place where you got 3, 4, 5 motherfuckers that got some shit that they ain't felt that they still haven't forgave or forgot, then you walking into a
The
lion's
danger
den.
zone.
Yeah,
Hell
you
yeah.
walking into a bad situation. You don't know how it's gonna play out. You know, and
And in
that's
fact, I think you do know how it's gonna play out. You just, fooling yourself, you know what I'm saying, and playing with fire.
you are fooling yourself and playing with fire. You know, you are fooling yourself because you know that these people have
A
things.
legitimate gripe against you.
You know that these people are with
Yeah.
indignant displeasure and ill will.
Yeah.
They are not without it. They are with
No,
it.
they are 100% with it.
You know what I'm saying? And they probably with the bullshit too.
Yeah.
You know? So if you know that, why you go put yourself, why do you pull up to that type of energy? Don't pull up to that type of energy. You know, keep yourself safe. Keep your health safe.
Hmm.
You know, allow yourself the space to be like, you know what, man, y'all got it. You like so I don't need to have that. You know what I'm saying? Like that ain't nothing wrong with that. Y'all got that shit, man. I don't need to have that.
Take your victory. You got it.
Yeah. As long as you don't come fucking with what I got going on over here, it ain't no problem. I ain't
Co-
trying to take nothing from nobody.
Correct. You got that over there.
Yeah, you got that over there. I got this over here. I think that's fair, but people don't get that. People don't like you can't even be fair with your family now. It's like, no, you're not supposed to be like that. You're supposed to be like this, like regardless of what I do to you, you know.
You supposed to
Like
take.
you supposed to take it. Like, why? Why do you think that? Because I don't do shit like that to you.
Why do you want to do stuff like that to me in the first place?
But it's normal, so it's not, or you've allowed it to happen before. You see, so it's regular them, it's a new you.
Yeah. Yeah. Yeah.
It's regular them, it's just a different you. And because the different you is not accepted, it no longer accepts their regularity. Now it causes a problem. It draws, you know, concern of ignorance. Everybody want to fight. Don't nobody want to sit down and talk. Why? What can we do? What you on? What you on?
Yeah. Now I want to talk it out, man.
Yeah, what you on? Like what you got going on?
I either want to talk about it or leave you alone.
And that's what I'm saying. That's what I like too, fam. That's where I'm at with it. You know, I either want to talk, I would either want to resolve the issues, you know, or live your fucking life and don't worry about mine. And you don't even have to show up at my funeral because I won't be there.
I promise.
Yeah,
Promise you, I
like,
won't.
yeah, I won't be there. The same guy right now doing all this shit with the hands, you know, all that shit. Like, nah, I won't be there, man. You know, for real. Like, I don't know nobody who ever been to their own funeral. So forgive and forget. But that's what we've been smoking on, y'all. We've been smoking on the word forgive tonight. It's another great show, God.
Yeah, God.
Another good word. And man, is it can you forgive and you can you forgive and forget? Ain't that something? And the definition of the word is impossible.
Oh, get it.
Definition of the word is impossible, man. Like, come on. Like, how you gonna go through all that and you forgave? Okay, so we did the forgave. Now I'm supposed to forget? How do you go through that much trauma and forget it?
Nah, it's fairy tale.
Yeah, but definitely it's been a very interesting show this evening. We exchanged some insights, man. Another great conversation, God. And man, everybody, we want to thank you all for tuning in this evening. Make sure to like and share the video. Also subscribe to the channel and hit the notification bell so when we go live, you never miss an episode of Cigar Sundays Live. Make sure to have a peaceful, positive, and productive start to your week, y'all. It's a lot of things coming up this week, so pay attention, y'all. Like, you know, it's a lot of the tariffs and things like that, and prices going up and things like that, man. But y'all be mindful of this stuff. This stuff affects everybody. Don't just be out here dumb thinking because you got a little bit of something that you know, like a little bit of something turned into a lot of something when everybody else ain't got it. So be mindful. Definitely go pick up that self-sustainability 160, self-sustainability 1016, you know, so you can start preparing yourself because the tariffs is coming and everything's going up. So before the tariffs was coming, shit was still going up. Like, I was wondering if a couple people that I talked to understood when I said, I was explaining to them something. I said, you know, during a certain time when I was talking about my granddaddy, I said, when my granddaddy was doing it, the price of eggs was cheaper. So now we need more hands to actually collect the eggs because the price of eggs is different. So if we don't do that, then everybody gonna be struggling to pay for their eggs. So I was just using that as an analogy. I wasn't using it to be literal. And then next thing you know, eggs go to, you know, $12 a carton.
Get the book.
You know,
all you need is a bucket in the corner.
Bucket in the corner, and you're gonna need that book right there, the one we get ready to play this ad for. So we're gonna see y'all next Sunday, 8 p.m. East Coast time, right here at Cigar Sundays on YouTube. I am Chef Earl Pearl at DBCHEFTV, always with the guy Ali Dawu L at BK Soul Farm. And we are the Cigarden Panel. Peace, God.
Peace, God. This whole publication is all about going from nowhere to somewhere, right? Being able to stand on something so that you can travel in peace, right? So bksoulfarm.com, 1016, 160 self-sustainability. Jump on a list and get yourself together, right? Because it is irresponsible to not even know what responsibility means. So get yourself together, food, clothing, and shelter, protection of that, support your interests, and live.
Exchange insights Sundays at 8 p.m. East Coast time with the Cigarden Panel, smoking on words like two big nerds, hosted by DBCHEFTV and BK Soul Farm at Cigar Sundays on YouTube. Subscribe and hit the notification bell so when they go live, you never miss an episode of Cigar Sundays Live. Sign up for the newsletter and shop merch and clothing at www.dbcheftv.com.